Hello and welcome to Crypto TV. This is Manoj Vara and we are talking about privacy issues, identity thefts in Metaverse. So my next question to Deepika to you is, in addition to the conventional threats like phishing, social engineering, ransomware and malware attacks, some cyber threats are specific to the Metaverse. It's no surprise that cyber criminals are gravitating towards the Web3 space. That's what the main intention is. So identity theft is another critical threat we have already discussed in the Metaverse, and sophisticated attackers can be mounting to impersonate unsuspecting users, which then can be used to undertaking transactions on the user's behalf, which is actually a big concern as of now. So how would you like to explain this situation for our viewers?
Certainly. What is happening currently in the 2D world, if we may establish an analogy there is, a lot of data sets are being bound to gain the trust of the user by conducting certain social engineering exercises and helping them believe that we are the people talking from the source that is trying to contact. Now, when we transcend to the 3D world even further, where users are a little aware of how to even identify the intermediary, certain blue ticks or certain verification marks are just a passe. They are age-old right now. We need to set up certain mechanisms in place where multiple checkpoints are dynamic in nature. And rather than the vendor or the contractor verifying the users, it should also be the other way around. The user should have the opportunity to verify the authenticity from where the source is coming. When we come to the 2D world, so I'll be shifting into both, to establish the analogy here. The veracity and the vitality of the information, because it is coming from multiple sources, is very, very difficult to comprehend. So we need to establish certain practices in place so that impersonations, data points, identity thefts, or certain identity access management systems don't have any loopholes that can, affect users in a negative manner. And more often than not, and this is something that through investigation of around more than 1,800 cases that our team has developed, air gapping or digital air gapping is a very important factor. Because if you break the link between your digital profile, your personal data, as well as your vital data, this is something that is going to go a very long way in safeguard. Cyber attacks are very linked. They are connecting the dots between point A to point B. If we break the connection between point A to point B, the public and the private profile, the professional and the personal profile, then I think it'll be difficult for the hackers to circumvent the same. So that's my number one giveaway to address this matter.
So Doctor, in a follow-up question to what Deepika has already mentioned about is, apart from the financial crimes, digital harassments through stolen identity is also possible, since you spoke about an incident that happened on a social networking site?
Yeah, sure. What Deepika brought about the credential thefts, anybody can access your network credentials and can easily assume an identity in the metaverse. That's a very important point. And, they can compromise your network credentials of users through wearable gadgets itself. Like we have been talking about the AR, VR. So if somebody hacks into it, so you have real problem. And then you can have your financial and the personal information, which can be compromised. And it can be used for anything for that matter, which is possible. And when it comes to identity theft, you are really a vulnerable target for identity theft in the metaverse as well, right? And the VR headset, what we are wearing, is anybody can gain access to the motion tracking data.
Exactly.
Your sensors, you can create digital duplicates by leveraging your motion tracking data. So those are the kind of challenges which are going to always evolve as we go along, in the metaverse, as regards your credential and the identity thefts are concerned.
So Deepika, we move to our next segment, which we are going to talk about NFT frauds and regulations on. So users are trading NFTs without enrolling in Metaverse platform. That is actually the case study which we have got for you. We want you to explain the situation for us to turn on profits. So Risk including aggressive market manipulations, rug pulls, and honeypots are what all stakeholders should be cautious of. And how you can explain this situation that is actually going on in the metaverse as far as the NFT segment is concerned?
I would like to headline this segment by talking about one example of a purported event which is being organized. It is known as the Hyperverse. A lot of campaigns were made, a number of people were invited, etc. The entire gimmick as a physical concert or an event is held, the same process was used in that. The reason I'm saying purported, because that event actually never happened. Nobody went to that event, it was never organized. At least in the tangible world, we have certain tangibility to test with. Metaverse takes us away from this. So this is the era that we are entering into. And that's why the veracity or identifying the checkpoints become very, very helpful. You are seeing plagiarism cases right now, even in the 2D world, the physical world where, songs or crafts or graphics are being plagiarized, let alone in the metaverse where there are multiple sources claiming that they are the originators of that particular NFT. And again, people should not go in a herd mentality that because so-and-so is buying it, because there are certain buzzes that are being generated that a person just named one particular GIF as a particular industry and end up getting bought. These are stories that people should understand that are planted to increase the gravitas in that particular scenario. And
Sure.
Not everything that you see on the internet is true. So again, we were talking about the zero trust policy. I would say up that with not only a zero trust or a proper validation part, but question everything. And prove your distrust only when you are not, happy with what you are being offered. Because this is something that once the consumer understands the responsibility that they have on it, they will stop relying completely on the intermediaries for this.
So fantastic. So my next question to to you is, digital art galleries are on the rise. But there is a risk of great digital NFT art heist looming in the metaverse. So if there is any such example, if you can just highlight for our viewers.
And there's so many thefts which are happening, taking the NFT along. There are fake NFTs which are already there, and people who are buying NFT, they really don't know where the NFT is being stored, whether really they own the NFT altogether. And one of the case of the NFT thefts which were there that happened in February 2022, right, where there were almost 1.7 million worth of NFTs which were being siphoned off from one of the largest, NFT marketplace, that's OpenSea, and it really caused quite a havoc and a lot of noise about it.
Right.
And we are seeing so much of scams related to NFT, and like I brought in the fake NFTs. And the major part is people really don't know where the NFT is stored today. Even if I buy an NFT, where is the NFT location, right? He paid for it, but then whether it's being sold or resold, or whether NFT existed at all, right? So that is how we are seeing so much of NFT thefts, in fact. And more so, if you have an NFT, the exchanges itself are so vulnerable.
All right. So Deepika, my next question to you is, since we are talking about metaverse and the crimes related to it, so one of the biggest problem in the original art world is that it's becoming the lead way to launder money, and the NFT world is following suit. So if you can just give us some examples, if you can just explain the situation with some examples.
So right now, the fad of Hollywood, Bollywood celebrities, and they actually auctioning some of their NFTs was actually in trend. And people always have had a craze, for being associated with certain celebrities. I'm not only talking about entertainment industry, but also scientists.
Sure.
There were reported facts of late Stephen Hawking sir's, the wheelchair parts which were there. Those were being tried to be auctioned. And such kind of things, when they create an exclusive circle around the same, that only people who pass this barometer or parameter are eligible to buy the same.
Mm-hmm.
They create a very eliticized private market. So you can consider this when, certain stores right now also, especially in the elite cities in the world, don't allow you to come unless you're eligible to come to shop there. Just having money doesn't mean you are having the eligibility. So this was by far the most primest examples, because those people were so, you can say, fanatic fans of Dr. Hawking. But we saw that they did not verify the authenticity of the same, and were it the actual parts. And then it was found that the entire wheelchair of Dr. Hawking was already safe in place at one of his hometowns. So this is something that we need to analyze and just see that if they are creating this hype around the same, not fall prey.
So doctor, can you just share one example with our viewers? How can you just explain this entire situation of a broader theft, or for that matter, a concern or crime which you have witnessed is, according to you, the biggest thing happened in the metaverse?
So, like one of the crimes which is quite talked about, and it was by the Meta itself when they were doing a beta testing of Meta, and there one of the lady who was doing the testing itself became a victim, right? And she became a victim of groping and rape, and that was one of the start points where it itself, the Meta, which is supposed to be the originator and the most talked about, the creator of the metaverse right now. So that's how the things happened. So like any technology, it's really becoming a big problem. And then of late, in the month of April also, we heard about a case of a lady being raped by some of the fellows who are there in the metaverse itself. And really, it's a really point of concern where your avatar can be molested or it can be raped, and because it's a primarily an extension of our lives which are there, and these kind of crimes are very much prominent. So whatever are the real life crimes, we are actually taking them to the metaverse as well. So and since it is a metaverse without boundaries, so we are seeing the crimes like violence, obscenity, harassment, everything getting on to the metaverse as well.
All right. So one last question to both the guests is, how important is regulation in this space? Since we're talking about a lot of crimes, a lot of concerns in this sector, what is the role of policymakers and regulators and importance of regulations in this sector?
If I may take that question,
Yeah.
the roles of the regulators here is to be the sentinel for the common public, as also to be the watchguard for the providers or the contractors who are giving out the metaverse service. Because if either of them is, having certain lack replacements, or they are not being taken very, very seriously, the balance will not be maintained.
Sure.
And for that, the sentinel here just cannot, sit and be the judge, jury, and the executioner of the scenario, but also needs to be one of the most experienced, expert-based, analyst of the same. So I think the government rather has to move beyond, and I think certain, initiatives are already underway where they can assimilate the experts who've already built this thing, form certain actionable committees and not just committees for minutes of the meetings, and take certain decisions which are actionable for the consumers first, with the mentality of the consumer safety being the king here and not just the commercialization aspect. And also make sure that privacy and security, the lines are not merged. Often the debate is, should users' privacy or nation security being given example, or, being given certain importance? I think if we find the right balance of both with the rightful cooperation of the intermediaries here, that is something that we will be moving towards a utopian metaverse.
Utopian metaverse, that's a word coming in from Dipi. So Doctor, your last closing comments on the regulations.
Yeah, very important. And one really has to understand that since metaverse is not going to be controlled by any government, right? And it's a cross-border kind of environment, what we are seeing. It's that every government will have to come on board to come up with some kind of a regulations, like even now what we are seeing it for the crypto. Every government is coming up with their own regulations, and then they're trying to, come up with some thought process which are in sync with each other. Similarly, in the case of metaverse, we'll have to think of those kind of things, because it's not only the crime what we are talking of, it's an economy, because NFTs are the ones which are being transacted. That's a real hard money. And those kind of things, when it comes to money with crime, transborder, the regulations have to be really very stringent, very thoughtful, and they have to really think of how we have to, monitor the complete metaverse. And most importantly, which we have to see is we have to work on the digital forensics as well, because whenever the metaverse comes up, how do we really investigate a case when it happens? Right now, we talk to the cyber cops, like I was just bringing it out, trying to solve your cybercrime cases. The metaverse has got its own challenges of, technology-wise, processes-wise, the attack technique-wise, the privacy issue-wise. So those kind of things we really need to skill ourselves before the regulations come in, right? And then practically the meta cops, the meta laws which we talk of, even the laws have to be aligned to the metaverse crimes which are going to be there. So those kind of things which we'll have to really align ourselves to the metaverse in few years from now.
Fantastic. So to conclude, the metaverse cybersecurity concerns are critical in the wake of rapidly evolving things. That's what both the guests have highlighted. So these issues need to be addressed with utmost sincerity and earnestness. So as the entire concept of metaverse evolves around the digital space, data concerns, data security, thefts, its growing prospect is future will depend upon the data protection companies are able to extend to users, and that government will be responsible for the regulations on this. Thank you so much, Deepika, for being a part of this interaction and sharing your knowledge with our viewers. Doctor, thank you so much for being a part of this interaction. You spoke really well about all the aspects about the metaverse and the cybersecurity concern. Thank you to both the guests. Thank you. Thank you for watching this special show on Digitally Unplugged. This is Manoj Dara signing off, but keep watching Crypto TV for more such interesting updates. Thank you.